Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh, and a very good evening to Mr. Arman and Miss
Waalaikumsalam
Su.
warahmatullahi.
I think both of you already know why I call upon the both of you here in this evening. Anyhow, I would like to recap that our team has been approached by two parties who need our expertise to advise them in their decision making. We will discuss the item case by case. Is it okay for both of you?
Okay, boss.
Okay, we continue, yeah. Okay,
Sure.
the first one is from Dr. Adinombe Wataje, the Deputy Director of the Family Planning Research Center, who need to perform educational and outreach activities within 60 given days. He needs us to prepare a paperwork to support his plan with the least cost and the limited resources that he has. There are two types of material that we must prepare. The first one is for those who are used in training the workers, and the second one is for those to be distributed in the field. The result are as shown in the slide. Okay, for everybody's information, some of these tasks can go forward in parallel. However, there are only 10 personnel to complete the project. As for the schedule is very tight, there are some limited funds that can be utilized to speed up the process. We also need to advise them the length of the project without crashing. As shown, we had prepared the precedence diagram showing the required network of tasks and define the critical path. The critical path is the sequence of the tasks or activities that determines the shortest duration required to complete the project. Activities that fall on the critical path have zero slack or float, meaning any delay in this task will delay the entire project. Based on the graphs shown in the slide, the critical path is C, H, I, J, and K, which is marked along the red line. And then please note that the activity C, H, I, J, and K, based on the result from figure 2, do not have any slack. That means zero slack. Length of the project without crashing is 67 days, as we can see in the chart as shown on the screen, or it can be calculated by adding the critical path activity number of days, i.e. C, 5 days, plus H for 10 days, plus I, 7 days, plus J, 15 days, and K, 30 days, which total up to 67 days. Okay, next we will move to the other point that they require us to discuss. Okay, so I think you have something to share with us regarding this.
Okay, thank you, Mr. John. For question number 2, at this point, can the project be done given the personal constraint of 10%? So based on the table and figure we provided, the answer is no, because the project cannot be done with a personal constraint of 10% highlighted in green, in yellow. This is because after doing analysis for activities that can be crashed, only activities that need staffing, in example, activity A, C, E, H, and I, the minimum working staff for this project after crashing is at least 17%. So activity J and K, even though it can be crashed by 5 and 10 days, as shown in figure 3 below, those two activities do not require staffing. So ideally, to complete the task, it would be ideal to have at least 24 people based on normal time, which is without crashing. So for the next question, I would like to pass to Mr. Arman for further explanation.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Sohana and Mr. John. For question number 3, if the critical path is longer than 60 days, what is the least amount that Dr. Watage can spend and still achieve this schedule objective? How can he prove to Pathminder Foundation that this is the minimum cost alternative? Okay, based on this question, we have done some analysis. The critical path is 67 days. To achieve the 60 days goal, we need to crash another 7 days. The activities that should be crashed are activity C and activity I. Activity C can be crashed by 2 days, while activity I can be crashed by 5 days, thus adding up to 7 days. Why we select activity C and activity I to crash, while there are many other activities that can be crashed, is because the combination of both activity C and activity I incur the least cost to crash compared to the rest. The cost incurred to crash both activity C and I is $100 plus $400 equal to $500. For example, if we didn't take the crashing cost from activity, H, which is $1,000, or J, $2,000, because the cost is higher than activity I, which is $400, even though the number of days that can be crashed are the same. This can be calculated from figure 3 above. Thank you. So I'll pass back to Mr. John.
Okay, seems that we have already completed the task for Dr. Wataje. And then we move to the next task. We proceed to the next case. Okay, the another case is recently we received data of 5 bags per hour that were taken for 3 days that derived from Sicily Rice Export, Alexandria, Egypt. Sicily Rice was supposed to deliver or export bulk white rice in 70-pound grain bags. However, since they added working shift to increase production, their customer noticed that the grain bags that they receive are underweight. We are required to identify the problem and come up with recommendations. First thing first, we need to identify what control chart should be used to determine whether the process is in control or out of control. Control chart serves as a tool for monitoring and assessing whether a process remains within or deviates from its expected parameters. The selection of a control chart depends on the nature of the data being gathered. For this case, we use X-bar chart and R charts. X-bar are typically employed when dealing with variable data. The establishment of upper and lower control limit is based on the data collected. An X-bar is utilized to track the central tendency or mean of a process, while an R chart is employed to monitor the variability or range within subgroups. These are, as we can see here, the sample information that given to us. And then for next, for the question is?
Okay, thank you, Mr. John. For question 2, develop a control chart for each shift. Does there appear to be a difference between the shift? So to determine whether there are differences, we need to develop a few control chart for each shift. So there are 3 shifts, and then we have developed 2 chart for each shift. So this is X and R chart for shift 1. Next is, this is the data we used to develop the chart for shift 1. And then next is X and R chart for shift 2. Okay. And then the next slide, the data we used to develop shift 2 bar chart. And then another 2 slide, X bar chart and R chart for shift 3. Also, we used the table to develop the chart. So next slide, we can summarize from the graph. Shift 1, the upper control limit is 49.73 and the lowest control limit is 48.54. So for shift 2, from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., the upper control limit is 50.53 and the lowest control limit is 49.09. So for shift 3, we took the time from 4 p.m. to 12 midnight. The upper control limit is 48.41 and the lowest control limit is 46.59. So this one we can see the plot from X bar chart shown before. So for R chart, we get the data for upper control limit and lower control limit also for these 3 shifts from 12 midnight to 8 a.m. The upper control limit is 4.36 and the lowest control limit is 0.92. And for shift 2 from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., the upper control limit is 5.3 and the lowest control limit is 1.13. And for shift 3, which is from 4 p.m. to 12 midnight, the upper control limit is 6.71 and the lowest is 1.43. So in conclusion, while all three shifts experience variability in the process average, shift 2 demonstrate better control over both process average and subgroup variability compared to shift 1 and 3. However, further investigation may be warranted to identify and address the factors contributing to the observed deviation in process performance during shift 1 and 3. So, move to the next question. I would pass to Mr. Arman.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Suhana and Mr. John. For question number 3, CCL Rice Export is planning on providing incentive for senior personnel to rotate into other shifts to better mix personnel among the shifts. If the same control chart were used for all 3 shifts, what would be the control limit of these charts? Okay, next. So, based on the analysis, the control limit for all shifts based on X bar chart will be 49 for upper control limit, 49.56, and the lower control limit is 48.07, while for the R chart, the upper control limit will be 5.45 and the lower control limit is 1.16. Okay, next. Okay, this is the graph for cumulative shift. Next. This is the R chart for cumulative shift. Okay. This is the result for the cumulative shift. Okay, next. Okay. Based on this summary, there are 11 outliers upper control limit for shift 1 until shift 3, and there are 7 outliers for lower control limit on the X bar chart. For the R chart of 3 shift, the outliers for upper control limit is 3 and the outliers for lower control limit is 1. Okay. So based on this, we can summarize that overall, the interpretation suggests that while there is variability within sub-range as shown by the R chart outliers, the main concern lies with the variability in process average as shown by the X bar chart outliers. The high number of outliers on the X bar chart across all 3 shifts indicate that the process average frequently deviate from the expected range, warranting further investigation into the factors contributing this variability. Additionally, effort may be needed to stabilize the process average to ensure consistent and reliable performance across all shifts, and also to rectify the problem of frequent outliers in both X bar chart and R chart across all 3 shifts. Several steps can be taken, which is root cause analysis, process improvement initiatives, training and skill development, operating procedures, continuous monitoring and feedback, and also cross-functional collaboration. Thank you. So I pass back to Mr. John.
All right. Since that we had already decided on the solution for both cases, anyhow, I would like to wrap up our discussion on the matter. Okay, for the first case, the Family Planning Research Center activities for Nigeria, it is all about project management. Understanding the network of tasks and the critical path is very important to any project management. All projects need resources to be completed successfully, and we need to know whether it is normal time or crashing time. In this case, without crashing, it is impossible for them to complete the project in the stipulated time. However, the decision maker must know that additional costs might incur, and it is very important to select the alternative that incur the least additional cost to complete the project. We will recommend Dr. Wattage to crash activity C and activity I and incur small extra cost of $500 to complete the project in 60 days. As for the second case, CCL Rice Export, it is all about quality control. The control chart used in this problem, i.e. the X bar chart and the R chart, are enough to monitor and control any outliers with established UCL and LCL since data provided are quantitative. However, to ensure the quality of its export is maintained and to minimize complaints from its customer, the company need to investigate the real root cause of outliers, because to say that outliers are caused by machine not properly calibrated by trained personnel alone is not accurate, because in shift 2, where most seniors and experienced personnel work, also alias happen, even though not as much as shift 1 and shift 3. However, I have a very strong feeling that most of the problem comes from the machine. This was because it was mentioned that past records indicates that the mean is in fact 70 pounds with a standard deviation of 1 pound, while now the mean is between 46.4 until 51 pound, which was a very huge difference of over 20 pound compared to what it was supposed to be. This is profoundly serious because the difference is too huge for all three shifts. All three shifts show UCL and LCL that are more or less the same, but the main problem is it is too much different compared to the past record of mean 70 pounds. I suspected that the machine is not calibrated properly to where it's supposed to be, which is 70 pounds, due to miscommunication between the management and production department. Or maybe the machine needs to be replaced due to wear and tear. So we are ending our discussion here. Hopefully our clients are satisfied with what we will present them and eventually will make a prudent decision. Thanks to both of you for sparing your time. Assalamualaikum and have a good day.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you, Mr. John.
Thank you.